It is immoral and illegal to use war and invasion as mechanisms for robbing a people of their vital resources. From a statement by 5 Nobel Peace Prize winners opposing the new Iraqi oil law.
Welcome back to Inside Iraq. We are discussing the Iraqi oil law with 2 Iraqi experts, a former Iraqi oil minister, Dr. Essam Chalabi, and a current minister of planning. Dr. Essam, the Kurds are extremely angry at this piece of legislation. What is it that they didn't get makes them that angry?
It's all for the different reasons why we are objecting to this law. When the original draft that was approved by the cabinet in last February, there was supposed to be 4 annexes categorizing about 85 fields and 60 blocks, how to be shared between the Iraqi National Oil Company and the and the KRG, the region, and those that will be tendered for auctioning with the foreign oil companies. Now, 2 months after February, the Kurds rejected those annexes and said that we didn't know about it and we do not accept that INOC should be given all those or majority of those fields. So they changed the annexes and they had their own. The new version was changed whereby the parliament will not approve the annexes, so it will be left for the Federal Council for Oil and Gas to approve. So this is one of the main rejections with this law. Oh yes, you are right, they did not wait for that and they went ahead and they issued their own version of the Kurdistan oil law, plus they announced 40 blocks for tendering by oil companies, while in fact they should have waited for the this oil law to be approved if they are really sincere in trying to reach an accord on this oil law and not to have to go on their own way, which is exactly the opposite direction.
So what does that mean if
the central government would like to do?
If I don't get my way, in that case, I will reject it. And as the Minister of Minerals, Ashti Horani, he said, you know, this piece of law, we will put it in the wastebasket if it doesn't suit our agenda.
Certainly, this is the way they say it. Either they will have a law that is satisfactory to their interest 100%, or they will go their own way. And I think they will lose that way. It is not in the interest even for the Kurdish people, because that way they will only be confined to certain structures within the Kurdish region, and they will not be able to get the revenue that they were hoping for. So I think they ought to wait. Work out an acceptable oil law, acceptable to all Iraqis, not only the Kurds. It is not a political deal between the Arabs and the Kurds. It's a patriotic deal whereby all the Iraqis ought to approve, and then they should go ahead.
Dr. Ali, sectarianism has almost become institutionalized in Iraq, whether it's the federalism, whether it's the ministries, whether it's the jobs. Somehow it has become that issue. And even now, the Federal Oil and Gas Council that is to be established through this law has also been allocated according to ethnic and sectarian affiliation. How can you run an oil industry based upon people just simply because they are Kurds or Arabs or Turkmen rather than oil experts?
Really, what we insist to do in this law, to be sure that all Iraqi components are represented in this council. It is not kind of sectarian feeling or sectarian action. We want to be sure that all Iraqi components are in this council and represented, and so at the end any decision come from council take in its consideration the interest of all Iraqi components and not one of them only.
Dr. Essam, that is in theory. In practice, do you see it coming that way? Will they be calling on Dr. A so-and-so and they never look at him whether he's a Shiite, a Kurd or Arab, or basically each party is going to bring their own people?
Definitely not. I think what they are going to do will be, first of all, they will decide how many members of this Federal Council ought to be Kurds, how many members ought to be from this sect or that sect, and then they go for this, they look for the people. If they find a Mr. X, who is one of the best Iraqi experts, but oh no, I'm sorry, if we're going to bring him, then that will make the members of this sect too many, then we have to change that. That is not the way to do it. Oil should be run by experts, by specialists who know the industry, rather than politicians who don't know anything about it. The Federal Council is going to run the industry, as they put it in the law, and I don't know how they can do that, because there are too many things for them to do, and I don't think they have even the time to do that. They all are prime minister, ministers. How can they sit down? Maybe it will take them 24 hours a day to handle for months to come.
Let us take a microcosm of what is going on in the southern city of Basra. Right now, militias are in control of the Iraqi oil industry. Not only militias, but the small tribes, the small even clans, 50 people, 60 people, they are taking part of the pipes, they are drilling it, they are emptying, siphoning the oil, and tankers, coming, basically they are selling it with the support of some of the Iraqi militias or Iraqi security forces. Corruption is so rife in Basra. People are making millions and millions of dollars, and the Iraqi government is nowhere to be seen. So how can you control such a big industry in the future?
Well, I don't want to do any injustice to the people who are working in the South Oil Company in particular, whether the workers or the management or the engineers. I think they're trying to do their best. But what is happening is that their efforts are being hampered by the militias without the approval of the South Oil Company, who have been working hard to keep on the running of the business. So corruption is not limited to the south. It's beyond the boundaries of Basra. But in fact, because oil makes lots of money, barrels means dollars, means millions of dollars. Therefore, there you have all kinds of militias who are hampering, as you correctly said that, to smuggle oil products, oil in different ways. And nobody seems to be able to control them. So I don't think it is the capability of the South Oil Company to do that. It is the responsibility of the government, although the government is confined only within the green zone, but it is the responsibility of the American forces, the British forces, and also the Iraqi forces who are supposed to be there. And I don't think it is beyond their reach to control these pipelines. It's so easy. It's not that difficult.
Let me ask Dr. Ali quickly, if you would. The Iraqi Oil Industry Union, 26,000 strong, they are opposed to this. And pretty much they threatened, to strike and strike again if this law is not repealed. Why didn't the government take at least their views and seek their expertise, since they have amassed tremendous expertise since the 1950s?
I think this is a very serious threat come from this union. We cannot ignore this threat of strike. I think we have to listen to all expert people, and we have to listen to all Iraqi parties and the trend. Really, I have real worries and fears about the future. If this law succeeds, I think this law will threat Iraqi unity and will threat Iraqi interest.
Dr. Essam, Dr. Ali Baban is expressing perhaps the sentiment and the fear and the concern of ordinary Iraqis. You, as somebody who's been in the industry for many, many years, you were an oil minister, and at the time, even when you left back in 1991, you were objecting even to the production sharing agreement, which Saddam resorted to in order to bypass the sanctions. If this law is adopted, will it open the floodgate for every little province, every little segment, every little tribe to open a shop and start exporting oil?
Well, of course, it will all depend on how the business will be run by the managements to be put in place, whether in the ministry or INOC. Although production sharing per se has not been mentioned in the law, but it has been mentioned in a different term when they talk about contracts of exploration, development, and production. That means production sharing. And if they go about signing contracts within a short period with tens of companies, then obviously that will mean that you are going to give away a certain percentage of your reserves. Now, what our main objection in this regard, this is very important, is that we object to the fact that we have 85 fields that have been discovered in the past by Iraq, whether it is by the INOC or before that, to be given on terms of production sharing. Production sharing means there must be a risk to be taken by the contractors. If you bring them, if you sign a contract with them to develop a field that had already been discovered, then there's no risk. So why should I give it to them as a production sharing? So this is the concern of people. And when Dr. Ali Baban talks about the possibility of threatening the unity, he should know better. And I think he's right, because he is a minister.
Dr. Essam, there is only 1 minute left
member.
to me. I'm going to ask both of you a quick question, the same question. I'll start with Ali Baban. Do you think this law has a chance to pass, and should it pass, Dr. Ali Baban?
I hope not.
Dr. Essam?
It shouldn't pass, but I think there is a possibility, since it's going to be a political deal between parties and the pressure from the United States.
Dr. Ali Baban, Iraqi Planning Minister, Dr. Essam Chalabi, former Iraqi Oil Minister. Gentlemen, thank you for being guests on Inside Iraq. To access the show and to send us your comments, please go to aljazeera.net/English. We have reached the end of this show. Join me next week when we take another look inside Iraq. Goodbye.